Okay, let me see here. So let's go ahead and look at the problem. So this is the problem I gave you guys for homework, 239. And we kind of talked about it a little bit. A lot more things going into overhead. And I believe this is the answer you should have gotten for the cost of goods sold. If you didn't get those, let me know and I'll take a look. As you guys know, it's entirely possible that I made an error somewhere.
I got it right.
Yeah, okay. Good. Yeah, so this is kind of the flow of things. By the way, if you got a different number or something, go ahead and take a screenshot of it. Oh, wait, I don't want that. Okay. Color coding. Yeah, so these are kind of the journal entries that'll be kind of moving across the thing. And the cost of goods sold, this is the cost of the stuff that has left the place. So these are gone. It's kind of like cash going out, but not really. It's a different asset. The asset is are the goods are leaving. Cost of goods sold are the actual goods are leaving the place. It's an asset going out, but it's not cash. It's sort of like this thing. If you let's say we built this and then we sold it, we built it kind of a high price, but let's say it's $660. We built it for $660 and we sold it, I think, for like $950. Well, we no longer have this. It was an asset, had some value to it, but we sold it. Now it's gone. So this asset is left. That's what the cost of goods sold is. It's the cost of whatever it is we sold. Okay, so coming down here, we're going to make the income statement. And the cost of goods sold is from the previous page. The revenues, by the way, revenues and sales are the same thing, just so you know. You probably already know, but revenues and sales are the same thing. They're just two different words for the same thing. Okay. So cost of goods sold is 650. So we have the revenues. This is money coming in. So revenues are money coming in. It looks funny. It looks like an equation or something. So 950 came in. Cash, your accounts receivable, some kind of asset coming in. These are the assets going out. And this is how much we made on those sales. So on just the sales of those goods, we made 290. We still have some costs that are not related to manufacturing. So these are non-manufacturing costs. They're still there. We're not saying that they're not didn't happen, but we're just saying they're not part of manufacturing. So not manufacturing costs or expenses. And so what we're left with is the net income of 50. The income statement on the test is going to be extra credit points. So this will be the required part, figuring out the cost of goods sold, but the extra credit will be for this. Well, I'll show you on the practice exam. We'll do one. Okay, questions? Okay, so if you need to get a picture of that, a screenshot, go ahead. Oops. And let's go to this one.
Professor, a quick question. The way you highlight stuff, do you want us to highlight too in our homework or no?
You don't need to. There's no.
Okay.
I will tell you something kind of interesting though about highlighting, just in general. Humans are one of the very few mammals that can actually see color. Most mammals can't. We can see color, and it takes a huge amount of brain power to do it. And the reason I'm telling you that, maybe I actually have a handout on this. Maybe we'll send it out next time. But the reason I tell you this is that if you highlight something in color now, it's much more difficult for your brain to see colors than it is to see black, white, grays. It just is. So seeing in color actually takes a lot of brain power, and you say, "Well, who cares?" Well, here's why you care. You learn better. It'll reinforce in your mind the more synapses you get for looking at something. If you put it in color, it's a weird thing, but if you're highlighting it, you don't sit there and say, "Oh, gee, that's orange, and it's really hard for me." My brain's really working hard because I got to see orange. But that is actually what's happening, and it's creating more and more connections. And so, actually, things that are in color, you actually remember those better than things that are black, white, gray. So it is kind of a weird thing, but yeah, highlighting things. Actually, there is a kind of an academic. You retain it more if you do the kind of color coding stuff. I don't know if you guys ever had one of the professors here. Actually, he just left. I'm really bummed about it. But Dr. Knutson, he used to highlight everything. you get a textbook from him, and the whole thing would be highlighted in all these different colors. And I'd ask him, "Am I supposed to know this? Is there a code here?" And he's like, "No. That's just me learning it." Okay. So let's go ahead and go to problem. Let's go to problem 3. And problem 3 is the type of problem that we love so much in accounting, and that is, there's a missing number. And so on problem number 3, we don't know the direct labor. Okay, so this problem is about finding the direct labor. Do you want to try this? I didn't assign it, so don't. Worry. I didn't expect anyone to do it, but anyway, there's a couple different ways to do this one, and there's a way to work backwards through it and a way to go forward through it. They give you the cost of goods sold, so you can actually do the cost of goods sold and work backwards through the problem. That tends to be a little confusing sometimes. I've done a billion of these, and even for me, sometimes going backwards, you go, I added that, so subtracting it, whatever. So actually working forward is sometimes an easier way, and that's why I'm going to show you, and that's the only way I'm going to show you. I'm not going to mess it up by showing you different ways. So just to give you an idea, here's what I'm going to do. We have our cost of goods sold. This is the number they have to give you if I have some kind of a starting point. And they tell us the cost of goods sold is $250. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to calculate the cost of goods sold without direct labor. Oops. And the difference here should be our direct labor. I'm going to subtract that out. Let me make a little more room here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to calculate this without the direct labor. Okay, here's what I mean. I am going to put in 0 for direct labor. Now, I know that it isn't 0. I know that we have people show up to work every day, and I know that they're they're there. But I'm going to put in 0 because I know whatever this is off at the end, it'll be off by the direct labor. So I'm going to put in 0 for direct labor. So we're going to do it exactly the same way we did before. I'm going to bold all this. Okay, oops. All right, so let's just put in our stuff here. Okay, direct materials are 50. So we begin with the beginning. And then we're going to end with the ending. Okay, so let's jump across the other side here. We're not going to do the ending yet. We'll do that in a second. Where do indirect costs go?
Overhead.
Yep. And indirect costs, you may say, well, why is there only one of them? Overhead is kind of by definition the indirect cost for manufacturing. So that's going to be an overhead. Sales, we'll ignore that for now. Actually, we'll ignore it. We don't even need it for this problem. Okay, direct labor. Now, here is where we don't know the number, and I am going to put in 0. Now, I know that it is not 0, but it's going to give me a cost of goods sold that will allow me to figure out what the direct material should be. Okay. Is that it? No, purchases. What am I doing here? Okay, purchases were 130. Okay, so we had 180 available in the direct materials. And we send somebody out to count up the ending inventory. So we'll say, okay, how much is in direct materials? They go out and see how much, maybe this is like wood, maybe we're making desks. This is the wood, okay. How much is still sitting on the assembly line? And they'll come back and give us a number. How much is in finished goods? And then they'll come back and give us a number. And so this is what we're going to do to figure out how much flowed through the system. Okay, direct materials, 60. So there was 60 left in our direct materials. So how much did we use?
20.
20. Okay, so let me space this down a little bit. Okay, so we have, what did I do here? Give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so 120 was actually used. Okay, now here is the wacky one. Now I know that this is wrong. I know the 0 is wrong, but I'm putting it in, and whatever number we get at the end, it'll be off by exactly what that should have been. Okay, so we add all those up and they come out to some number. $207. Okay, and so there's 207 sitting in there. We send somebody out to count up how much is still being worked on. And they come back and they say, oh, we're still working on $45 worth of those. Okay, so how much did we finish? Anyone? I think it's 162. You may want to check that. Okay, 162 and 102. Should be able to do that in my head, but I'm being lazy. 264. Okay, so there's 264 sitting in that finished goods, and if we didn't sell anything, there still should be 264 in there. We tell someone go out, count it up, and they come back and say there's 106 worth of stuff in finished goods. And so how much did we finish? 164 minus 106.
158.
Okay, so this says 158. I'm going to put that in here. Let me see, 158. Now, this actually isn't the correct cost of goods sold. This is the cost of goods sold, but it's cost of goods sold without. Up here. Yeah, that's all supposed to be one. Without direct labor. Okay, so coming up, where am I at? Coming up here. So the cost of goods sold without direct labor is 158. Ooh, not that. Oh, not that. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to subtract this out because we know the difference between these two must be the direct labor. So our direct labor will be, 92. So this is our direct labor. Oh, we do need the sales. We need the sales for this one. So here's direct labor. For gross profit, how much do we have in gross profit?
300.
We have 300 sales, and then we have our cost of goods sold is 250. So what's ever left over
Fifty.
there? Yes. Oops. Hey. This looks terrible. I should put it somewhere else. Okay, and so this will be our gross margin, the gross profit. Let's say gross profit. Okay, so again, coming down here, we're going to find the cost of goods sold without direct labor. So this is it without direct labor. Now, I know it's wrong. It's wrong by whatever we should have in this direct labor. So that's when we come up here and we say, okay, here's cost of goods sold, what it should be, 250. Here's what we came up with without the direct labor. So the difference must be the direct labor. Oh, here's a question for you. Suppose you're taking the test and you get to number 92 and you're not sure if that number is right. You go, okay, I'm not 100% sure that I believe this number. How can you check it? How could you check to see if the 92 is correct?
By putting it in direct labor and then doing the adding it to it.
Exactly. Just do it again, put the 92 in, and then you should come up with 250. If you don't, then there might be something wrong. But if you just plug it back in and then do it again, do the cost of goods sold with the direct labor, and it should come out to be the 250. Okay. And by the way, one of these things, doing these, you always wonder, well, there's a missing number. You go, well, how does that ever? That's not like a real world thing, a missing number, right? I mean, it isn't like someone go, oops, where do we find how much we have we don't know how much we deposit in the bank. Well, go look at the bank deposits. But there actually is in accounting something that we get called in for sometimes, and that the two things that are oftentimes when you have to come up with back into a number is theft and fires. Theft and fires are the two biggest things. It could be flooding sometimes if stuff floats away, but theft and fires are the two things that we have to kind of back into the numbers, and you need them for filing insurance. Sometimes a police report if it is really, and the problem is someone breaks in and steals some stuff from the store and they leave with the stuff. You say, well, let's go count up the stuff they took. Well, the stuff's gone. That's the whole problem. You can't go count it up, and unless you were just dumb luck and you did inventory the night before or something, you're not going to know what those numbers are. And you're going to have to come up with a number for the insurance company, right? And they're going to say, well, how much is stolen? And you have to come up with some number that you can kind of back up. And so sometimes you do have to back into the numbers, and in accounting that falls on us. How much did we likely have in inventory? So sometimes you do have this, even though the missing number thing is kind of, I don't know, maybe not as often occurring as it happens in the textbook, that it does happen in accounting anyways. Okay, go ahead and see if you can do problem 4. I'm going to be quiet for a minute and see if you guys can figure that one out. And again, just plug in wherever which one are we missing? Okay, here, purchases. We're missing purchases. So for purchases, just plug in 0. And work through, and we will have the cost of goods sold without purchases. And while you're doing that, I'm going to send another email. The the practice exam is in Blackboard, but I'm just going to send it to you in your email. Okay, and again, I know that the direct materials are off, but they're going to be off by whatever the purchases are, and the cost of goods sold, they will be off with the purchases are. We have 245 sitting in there. By the way, if you do want to work it backwards, there's absolutely no. That's fine if you want to do it on the test. If you're more comfortable with it, and some people are. I'd say just in general, more people are going forward is the easier. But if you're gonna do it working backwards, that's fine too. Okay, so I know that let's do it here. Copy from up here. This is my teaching you guys how to be lazy, like me. Okay, this is cost of goods sold without purchases. Let's see. Cost of goods sold was 400. Cost of goods sold without direct labor or without purchases. All right, so this is without. Oops. So cost of goods sold without purchases was 163. So it's 400 minus 163. 237. Hey, stop highlighting. Give me back my highlighting. Okay, so the purchases. Uh, 237.
Can you remove the direct labor and right purchases so it doesn't confuse everyone else?
Which
On
ones?
the 237 direct labor, you said just for you can change it to purchases, the blue one. Yeah, the under that, the blue direct labor. Shouldn't it be purchases?
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Thank you. Very good. Sorry about that. I'm a little slow. Hey, I can get these actually closer together now because it's a smaller. Very good. Yeah, that's the purchases. 237. And again, most of the time in real life, you don't worry about this, but there are a few situations, especially for accounting, that we do have to kind of back into the numbers. Okay, I'm just going to do the income statement here. The sales minus. $520. Okay, so our gross profit will be the gross profit, same thing as gross margin. You see it both ways. Okay, so this will be 120. So that's the missing number one. And so, like, it's sort of like this in how does that? Let's say there was a theft that happened, and you had to figure out what the what you had for a missing number. One of the ways you do it is you'd have your sales, and then figure out whatever your usual cost of goods sold is as a percentage, and use that as your ending cost of goods sold. So whatever the percentage is, it was 80% or whatever was cost of goods sold. Then you would put that number in, and that's what you'd turn into the insurance company and the police or whatever you need the number for. And it does happen. I mean, it's
Professor, can we see the T tables one more time? Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, and again, this is the kind of the zero is we're going to figure it out without the purchases. And we know it's wrong, but it's going to be wrong by what the purchases are. And again, you could always plug the purchases back in. Whatever it was, 237, and work through it again, and you should come up with 400. You can also work backwards. The way you work backwards is putting 400 here and then working backwards to get it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. And I have had students that prefer to do it that way, and there's nothing wrong with it. And if you do it on the test, that's fine too. I can figure out which way you did it. I've also had people that have worked like halfway back and then halfway forward, and it's however you do it's fine with me. Okay. Well, let's pull up the practice exam. We got a little time. We might even finish this before a break. We'll see. Practice exam. And this is all you're going to get. You're going to get 2 problems. This first problem will have an extra credit for making the income statement, and you can just put the income statement anywhere. But so the first one, this is what's required. And by the way, there's 2 problems on the test. They're each worth 50%. And then down here is the missing one. And I'll tell you something strange about this. I think I know why, but just in general, I hope it doesn't happen to this class. I hope everyone gets them all correct. But in general, more people miss the first one, the easy one, rather than the one with the missing number. And you find that if you ever teach like I have, you'll find that it happens on tests. And the reason I think is stuff that's difficult, people study it. You know, oh man, this is hard. I have to think about this one. And the one you don't think about as much, you just don't think about it as much, and so you're not as worried about it, let's say. So anyway, yeah, so there'll be one of each on the test, and there'll be an extra credit point. Extra credit points for the first one will have a income statement, and we'll do that on here. Okay, let's just start chunking through it. I guess you guys, we've already done what, 5 of these now? All right, so we'll just go ahead and get started. I'll do my highlighting first. And again, you do not have to do this.
I have a question. Because I don't have a printout or anything I can work on right now. Is it fine if I watch the recorded video for this and do it then?
Yes, and you can also do it on just text on notebook paper or blank copy paper or anything.
Okay.
Take a picture of it. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And when you have a good point, in the nope, not that. Nope, not that. Click on all assignments. When you submit it, you can just take pictures of, if you're doing it on copy paper or notebook paper or a napkin in a restaurant, whatever it is, you can upload it. If you take 10 pictures, just upload 10 pictures.
Okay.
There's nothing, I'll take it any way you submit it. And again, it does not have to be on a printout.
Okay.
If you want to, you can. There's nothing wrong with it, but yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, if you go to our what is overhead and what is not, selling expenses, administrative expenses are not overhead. I'm going to put that right in here. Indirect costs are the same thing as overhead. Okay. Okay, cost of goods manufactured. This goes all the way back to last week. Whatever you finished, whatever goes out of work in process and goes into finished goods, this is what you manufactured. So, okay, so this would be our. Let me do something here. So whatever we manufacture would come out of work in process. That's what we manufactured for the period. Now we sold something a little bit different, not too much different, only by one, but so we made 256. We sold 255, and so there's a, and we made 256. So there's, if you look at 128 plus one, where we got the 129 from. And so this would be the, this would be 50 points. So doing this would be 50 points. Now there will be an extra credit. I don't know why I made this so big here. Hold on. Let me erase them. Okay, so the extra credit will say, okay, I'll make an income statement. Okay, so the income statement will be our sales minus our cost of goods sold. Hey, look, the fonts are really different here. Oh, that's a big font. What am I doing here? Give me 1 second. Okay, our cost of goods sold was $255. This goes our gross profit or gross margin, either one. $280. And we need our selling expenses and our administrative expenses. So give us our net income. These are negative. Expenses, money going out. Okay, so 280 minus those two, whatever those come out to. Oh, those are the right numbers. Yeah, they are the right numbers. Okay. Uh, 238. You want to check that number? Did you guys get 238? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Doesn't happen often, but sometimes I'll make a mistake on like a practice test, and then I'll be grading the test, and I go, how come this is wrong? And then I look at what I did for the practice test, and I go, oh, they did exactly how you showed them. Okay. All right, so that's the income statement. And again, this is extra credit point. So this, all this is 50 points. This is 5. So don't worry too much about this one. Even if you get something wrong, you'll still get, +4 on it or something. So
I have a question.
Hmm?
Why are the selling and admin expenses taken out after gross profit is calculated?
Oh, very good. It's an excellent question. This is so let me do something here. In the way we do accounting in the United States and for financial purposes, we break these up between what they call product costs. And these down here are what they call period costs. So we kind of separate these out, the product costs and the period costs. So selling expense, for instance, if you run a selling campaign, ad campaign, that'll be for a certain period of time. You'll have salespeople that you pay for working for the month of November or whatever it was. And same thing with administrative expenses, rent and all that kind of stuff. Those are going to be things that are for the period. So we break them up between product cost and period costs. Now, next chapter, chapter 3, we're going to break them up a little bit differently. And that's actually a good lead into chapter. I'm all blurry. In chapter 3, we are going to we're going to break up the costs into a different way that we can actually use them to make better decisions. But for right now, yeah, the product costs, and so that's anything that goes into the product. And again, things like selling, that's not actually part of the product cost. How you advertise it and paying your salespeople and all that kind of stuff. So we split those up, and it's just a way of splitting up. It's what we think investors would like to see. How much does it cost to make them? How much does it cost to sell them? What are the administrative expenses? So they bring them all separately. But it is, in some ways, it is arbitrary that we do it that way. But yeah. So the cost of goods sold is going to be a product cost. And selling administrative, these are period costs. Okay, missing number. You know what, it's 3 o'clock. Do you guys want to take a break or just want to push through? This will probably take like 10 minutes or something. Be done early? No.
Let's push through.
Push through. Very good. That's what I would do. Okay. If you want to go take a break, go ahead and take a break. But I'm gonna put these in here. Okay, and you put everything in the same way as you normally would. The only wacky part about this, well, one of the wacky parts about it, is when you have something that is unknown, you just plug in a 0. And now we're going to do this, and we're going to come up with a cost of goods sold that is without the direct labor, but we'll be able to figure that out by comparing it to this one. Okay, you guys got it. All right, so I'm gonna just put everything in the way we normally have. 60, 40, 30. Direct costs are 60. Direct labor, we don't know. But we do know when we figure it out, it'll be off by exactly what that should have been. Okay, purchase is 105. Pending purchases were 72. So we send somebody out, they count up how much we had for purchases, or still, sorry, direct labor, scratch that. Start again. Direct materials, we had 165, but when we go and send someone out to count it up, when they go count it, they come up that it's only 72 there, so we must have used the rest of it. We must have used 93. So this is what was used. And the 72 was not used. We still have it. Okay. Direct labor is 0, which is wrong, but we know that when we get to the end, whatever that should be is what it'll be off by. +40 plus 93 plus 60. 93? Could it possibly be that easy? I guess it is. Okay, the ending is 42. $151. So 189 minus 34. 155. Now I know that that number is wrong. Because this is 185 without direct labor. Okay. So let's see. We have our cost of goods sold, the 370. Oops. Cost of goods sold without without direct labor equals 155. So the difference between those two should be our direct labor. $215. So this will be our direct labor. Our gross profit will be sales minus cost of goods sold So our gross profit, or sometimes called gross margin, same thing, will be 170. No, it won't be. It'll be 130. Let me check and make sure I did that right. Yes, it's 130. If I get a screenshot of that. If I did anything wrong, scream it out right now. You won't hurt my feelings, I promise. And again, you could always plug the 215. If you get that number, you're not 100% sure about it, you could plug it back in here, work through, and you should come out with 370. Okay. You don't have to do that, but I'm, plug it back in. But if you wanted to, if you were unsure, taking the CPA exam, you did it, you got a little extra time, you go back and you take a look at it and say, okay, let me make sure I got this right. Okay, any questions? All right, well, so we can turn these two things in today. So those will go in here. And I will be sending out, probably like in the next hour or so, I'll send out the chapter 1 and 2 exam. And again, it's not, none of the stuff is due until February 9th. So you have plenty of time to work on it. But this will be in your email. It will not be in Blackboard. The exam is not in Blackboard. It'll be an email. I'll tell you why. Because there's different forms that the exam gets sent out. And if I put them all in Blackboard, people will be doing, doing the wrong form or whatever. So anyway, so you get sent out. So you get exam A, B, C, or D. And, so it's just a way of keeping track of who gets what form of the exam. But those will be emailed to you. So check your email if they will not be in Blackboard. Put it that way. Any questions? Okay, well, I will send out those the exams probably I tell you what, just to be sure, let's say before 5 o'clock, I should be able to have those sent out. I just go through and make sure that there's nothing crazy, and they're already made up. I just want to double check them. But yeah, so that you get those through the email, and then you can turn in the two things that we just did. We finished up the handout. Oops, not that. We finished up the handout and the chapter 1 and 2 practice exam, so you can submit those. And any way you want to submit those is fine. I think I talked about this last time, and this is in this. You can send anyway. If you want to scan them, you can send them in. If you worked on it like I do, right in the file itself, you can send that in. Here's two things you can't do. Don't put them in zip files, and don't put them in page files. So zip files and page files. Zip files are for Windows. Page files are the Apple kind of equivalent. And that's when you put multiple pictures usually into, it could be other things too, but multiple pictures into the into one file. for whatever reason, Blackboard doesn't like them. It doesn't like them so much that it kind of jams them in they'll be suspended, almost like like you submit it and they won't ever arrive. They'll just sit there for months. So it doesn't like them. So don't use zip files and don't use page files. Not because they're not convenient, it's because Blackboard doesn't like them. But anything else you can do. Any other way you want to do it, you can do it. And if you do take pictures of it, just send in 10 pictures. There's unlimited, I'll show you. There's unlimited submittals for all of these. Oops. Coming down here for submittal, unlimited submittals, and take the highest grade. So there's unlimited submittals for all of those. And what I think I mentioned, maybe I didn't. I had two things about the unlimited submit. If you do turn in the wrong thing, let's say you're going to turn in the chapter 1 and 2 handout, you accidentally turn in the chapter 1 and 2 practice exam in the 1 and 2 handout. You don't need to email me and to resubmit or anything like that. Just submit another one. Just submit the correct one. It'll come up on my screen. Here's submittal 1, submittal 2. Generally, I always just go to the last one because I assume that's the one that you want me to look at. Whatever you did before then, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be taken out or anything like that. Just submit it again. Submit the right one. So you submit one, you actually submit the blank one or something. Just resubmit it. You don't have to contact me or anything. Just unlimited submittals. If you do, mess up on one, you can always resubmit it. So don't worry too much about, gee, I don't know if I did this or whatever. Just submit it, and if there is a problem, you can always resubmit it. The only exception to that is exams. Now, exams you can resubmit as long as they haven't been graded yet. So if you complete the exam, you submit it, and you're thinking about it, you go, oh, you know what? I did that wrong. I got to do the, go do it correctly. As long as I haven't graded, as long as you don't have a grade, you can resubmit it. And I'll just go to the second one. I've had up to five of them stacked up before I even looked at them, because people had changed their mind or whatever. And so I'll just go to the last one. That's the one they want me to look at. Submittal number 5. If submittal number 5 doesn't make it, I might start going back and looking through the other ones. But generally speaking, I just go to the last one. Okay, any questions? So you can always resubmit any homework, practice exam, handouts. Those can always be resubmitted all the way through the end of the semester. Exams can be resubmitted as long as they haven't been graded yet. And generally I wait until the due date to grade them, just in case somebody does. I don't want to penalize someone who turned it in early and who couldn't change it, when someone else waited and turned it in later. So generally speaking, I don't grade things ahead of time unless the student asks me to grade them ahead of time. I will, but generally speaking, I don't do that. Any questions? You guys want me to shut up, don't you? All right. Well, I hit taken, and I will be quiet. And so this video will be up in probably, I say about in 24 hours, but usually within 3 or 4 hours it'll be up in Blackboard. And I will send out the chapters 1 and 2 exam. I did some. Okay. The chapter 1 and 2 exam will be sent out shortly. Questions?
So we have to download the exam and we have to do same as what we do in the practice exam and the homework.
Right. So you're gonna turn in the practice exam, and so here's what you're gonna turn in. Which one is this? So you're gonna turn in
You send the exam on the email, right? So we have to download that file and we have to do same as the homework problem and the practice problem what we are doing here.
Correct. You'll download it from the email. Yes. Now
Okay.
you can also do the exam on same as the other ones. You can do it on notebook, paper, whatever. You do not have to print it out. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I will match up whatever you turn in with whatever exam was given to you. So if you're sent, exam B, make sure you turn in the solution for exam B. But you can, however you want to turn it in is fine with me, and that's true with the exams also. So if you do,
Thank you.
okay, all right. Well, I will send it out, and if you have any trouble submitting stuff, just let me know, and we'll figure it out. And if you do have trouble with the sending in with the Laker bundle, let me know also. Again, I'm a little uneasy because mine doesn't show it. So if you have one that doesn't show it, it's possible that we're both in the same boat. But if you have trouble getting into the Laker bundle, let me know, and I will submit it to the someone in Blackboard who can work on it. All right.
Do we have to submit the exam by email or on the Blackboard?
Good question. Submit everything in Blackboard. And I'll tell you why I like everything submitted in Blackboard. In Blackboard, I can put grading notes in. And not only that, we can both look and see what was submitted, so that, it's always, you send it to a teacher in email and they give you a grade, it's hard to know why they gave you that grade and so on. Whereas in Blackboard, everything's there. You can see everything you have. So submit everything in Blackboard. Good question.
Okay.
Any other questions? And you do not need to email it to me. You don't need to submit it in Blackboard and email it. I know some teachers tell you to do that. You don't need to do that. If you do have a problem submitting it in Blackboard, let me know and we'll try to work it out. And if worse comes to worse, then we'll have you. We're as a workaround, we'll do an email. But generally speaking, it should all go in. And if there is a problem with your Blackboard, it's easier to fix the Blackboard problem once than to keep having you email it to me. Okay. All right. Well, I will see you guys next week, and you should get the exam shortly, probably within an hour and a half, say. Okay? All right.
Have a good day.
Good day.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.